Hello and welcome to episode 270 episodes of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and you take a pause for a second and just contemplate that.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of episodes. So I want to thank everybody for following us and listening to us. We've had a great time doing this. We look forward to doing this every Sunday. Well, let's start with the NBA, and I think I picked the Warriors in 5, and so maybe that'll happen. I don't think so, but I just I'm consistent. Every time I pick something, I lose.
Yeah. Well, I told you before we started the podcast, the analytical nation. I don't know what you refer to them as, but the Celtics in the NBA had the best record from the All-Star break on, and analytics picked them to win the finals. So the math nerds have said the Celtics are going to win, and they look pretty good.
They did look pretty good. They shot an unbelievable percent of three-pointers. I mean, I could not believe they kept hitting those three-pointers.
No, but I mean, a lot of those threes came when they were already winning.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum has done a great job in that first game of being more of a facilitator than a scorer. He had some really nice passes. We sang its praises a little bit off the air, but I saw some other pundit make this point that Al Horford is sort of, had a career, outside of the championship. Statistically, he's been every bit as good as Draymond Green, just better on offense. He's just been quieter. And, he's getting 3 days off in between every game, which helps a lot of the older guys,
Yeah, and just Jason White's kind of been the X factor.
Yeah. And Marcus Smart doing Marcus Smart stuff. Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see them exploit the Celtics' inability to dribble the basketball in Game 1. And I don't know if that's...
We talked about that last week on the show.
And I don't know if that's a scheming thing or if that's simply just, it's a different matchup. Like Miami's got a lot more sort of tenacious defenders that can sort of do that sort of thing.
Well, I'll be curious tonight because that was as much as it was a Celtics win, it was also a Warriors collapse.
Indeed.
So I'm kind of curious. I'll be watching tonight to see what happens.
And if you're the Celtics, you came out in Game 1 and got, you want to win one of the first two on the opposing team's court, and you already did it.
Yeah. I mean, I would bet the farm tonight on the Warriors.
But as you pointed out, when you bet the farm, or at least hypothetically here.
Lose.
Yeah. It's two really good teams.
I'm going to bet my farm. I'll see if I lose tonight.
Okay. It's hard to imagine. The Warriors are a really good team. It's the NBA Finals. You'd hope every NBA Finals goes 7 games because these are the two best teams. So
yeah,
I'd like to think the Warriors win tonight. Because then if you're the Warriors,
I'm surprised, but we'll see how it goes. I'm also in shock about the Lightning just being annihilated in 2 games.
Yeah.
Even though the second game was 3-2, they just have not looked good to me at all. And the Rangers look really, really much faster, much more aggressive.
Yeah.
And just don't make mistakes.
Well, New York and Colorado are 2 pretty good hockey towns.
Yeah.
And the Avalanche are up 3-0 in their series.
Now, I did pick that.
Yeah.
So I am hot on that one. And I did pick them to win everything.
And you did say the Lightning, you didn't think the Lightning were going to get out of the first 2 rounds. And
no, I didn't. I thought they'd beat. I didn't think they'd get. This is the round I didn't think they'd get out of.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew I thought they would beat Florida just because whoever has the best record hasn't been doing really well in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I thought there was too much pressure on Toronto because the Canadian team hasn't won in a long time. But this is the round. I knew they'd be playing. I knew they'd be playing the Rangers or the Hurricanes, and I just didn't think they would win that round. But I didn't think they would look like this, I guess is what I want to say. They just don't look good to me.
No. But they've had a hell of a run, so.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to our Steeler minutes real quick. That we
Okay.
don't always get to have. I guess first, farewell and good luck to Stephon Tuitt, who has officially retired from the NFL.
At 29, big loss for the Steelers, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this year, I think they're way more prepared to have him not be there.
Yeah, because they didn't have him last year. And
No.
hoping to get him back.
And they had Loudermilk last year. They get Alou back. They drafted the Neal kid out of Texas A&M, so they seem like they're much better suited for, you know.
And I know they'll pick up somebody off the waiver wire.
Right. I guess I would like to offer a shut up to former Steeler Merrill Hodge.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't think there's any need to take shots at Devin Bush. He came off a knee injury, didn't play well last year, said he's going to be better this year. Like, I don't think you need to, like, poop on that kid for any reason at this point.
Uh-huh.
And Robert Spillane is not the best linebacker on the Steelers. He's just not.
No.
And I mean middle linebacker. Like, he may be a very intelligent player, but he's not. He had 2 good games. Let's stop pretending he was great.
Okay.
So I just need Merrill Hodge to shut up about that, because that's not it. That's it. That was my Steeler minutes.
Okay.
I was annoyed at Merrill Hodge sounding like a very old white guy.
Well, I got my shocking stat of the week.
Okay.
The Angels have lost 10 games in a row.
That's a lot of games.
And Mike Trout is 0 for his last 23.
Is that his longest 0 for streak, I'm assuming?
Yeah. That's an incredible 0 for streak for Mike Trout.
Yeah.
0 for 23, and the Angels have lost 10 games in a row. And so the game I went to when we were in L.A. was the first of we saw the first game to start the losing streak. And they've been getting crushed.
Yeah.
They haven't just been losing. They've been getting shut out and crushed. So I have no idea they're the first team ever to go from 10 games over 500 to lose 10 in a row, to be back at 500.
Yeah, in baseball...
I'm just shocked.
Yeah. It sounds odd, but it's tough to lose 10 games in a row in baseball.
I agree.
Or any sport, I guess.
You have to. The Pirates haven't even lost 10 in a row.
No, the Pirates just swept the Dodgers. Yeah, that's crazy. That team, I don't know. Can they maybe, I know they would never do it because it doesn't make any sense for them, but they need to just trade Ohtani and Mike Trout. Get them somewhere else. No. Maybe they're cursed.
No. I don't know what they might be cursed. I agree with that. But geez, I've never seen anything like that. And the Yankees keep winning.
Yeah.
So now the Pirates have swept the Dodgers 3 in a row. I'm going to wait until next month when the Yankees come to Pittsburgh and see if they sweep the Yankees 3 in a row. Or 2 in a row, whatever they play.
Yeah. Well, the Pirate fan, it's unique. Like I said, I'm more of a peripheral Pirate fan. I follow through you. But they tease a lot. And you get excited because, here's some young guys. This is the future. They start playing well again. You got your Brian Reynolds. You got a couple of guys that look like they're real stars. And then you just keep waiting for the payoff. And it just seems like it never,
Yeah. Well, yesterday they had a rookie pitch and they gave up 1 unearned run. And they had a rookie go yard for the walk-off.
Yeah.
So then they're likable and they're fun. So, and they did a drone firework, a drone light show Friday night. It was pretty. I saw the photographs on Twitter. It was pretty incredible. Like they had a drones form Clemente tipping his hat in the sky. It was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So So our listeners, you should go on Twitter and look up Pittsburgh Pirates, and then look up drone show. And I think it was the first one in baseball, and it was pretty incredible. I would go see that. And I just was blown away by what they were able to do. They did all kinds of different things. And there's, I guess, some music tied into it and some highlights tied into it on the scoreboard. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get something in there. You got to be unique and new every year.
Yep. I want to go on record as hating the Dodgers all-blue uniform. Looks like a softball uniform.
Yeah, I'm all for baseball having as many. I mean, with 162 games, they need lots of uniforms. So I'm okay with them from time to time to get the weird,
Okay, did you see the Marlins uniform they wore yesterday?
I did.
Did you like it?
Well, I would like to point out, since growing up, every time ESPN posts their ugliest uniforms,
you like them?
I like them all.
Did you like that one, though?
I didn't mind it. I just think I have terrible taste, so...
Yeah, I didn't like that one at all.
Going back from either watching or playing video games, like I like as many uniform options as possible. And sometimes the ugly ones are fun. Like even the Steelers Bumblebee uniforms, Not everybody can be
You
powder
know
blue
that
Chargers.
that guy that I sent you, and all my other friends hated it. The one with the bridge, the Steeler one.
Yeah,
And I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't like had red in it. Other than that, I was fine with it.
exactly. Like I said, except for
Lots of interesting things on social media, folks. You can find renderings of almost anything.
yeah. And people want more jerseys to buy, more jerseys to sell. Just can't stop.
Yep. I might actually watch a little soccer today.
Soccer?
Yes. The Ukraine is playing Wales, and the winner gets a berth in the World Cup.
Well, I know who the world is rooting for.
Yeah, but at the same time, Wales hasn't been in the World Cup since 1958.
Yeah, Wales is a tiny little country.
So that's 64 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
So I don't think there's whoever wins that, you got to be happy for them.
I feel like the commissioner of soccer, whoever that might be, or whatever their presidente, whatever that is, I feel like this would be the time you put in the ref that, like the NBA has some famous refs that extend series. Like, if I'm the World Cup, I want Ukraine to win this game real bad.
Yeah, I would say so. I think if you're just a soccer fan in general, I think you want Ukraine to win. And even if you're not a soccer fan,
Right.
you want Ukraine to win. So we'll see what happens.
Like, Wales is a great story, but the Ukraine, it coming, where they are right now.
That's the story it plays against.
That's the story it plays against, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. Like I said, it comes on at 11:30, and I'm gonna go out to lunch. Mom and I go out to lunch at the sports bar with a couple former students, and if it's on, I'll pay attention to it.
The one thing I will say,
I won't watch every minute of it, but I'll pay attention to it.
Well, that is the nice thing about soccer. For whatever you think about it in terms of the on the field play, it's a very tight 90 minutes for the most part.
Yes. Until you get that Tony Soprano time at the end.
Yeah.
You have no idea where they came up with the number.
No, it's just 4 minutes of stoppage time, but it moves pretty well. Like, you're not gonna. It's not it's not like baseball where you're gonna be sitting there for 4.5 hours or.
I know, and every time I'm watching baseball on one channel and I watch the NBA on the other channel, and I'll think, oh my God, I gotta get back to the baseball game, and the same batter might be up.
Yeah.
It just drags so much, and I love baseball, but it just drags so much.
I know, and again, you're a baseball lover. Grew up baseball. I mean, you know. And for you, like when you feel that way, like, if the Steelers played a 5-hour game, I'd probably be perfectly into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you saw some Oklahoma State. You want to give your updates on that?
Yeah. Women's College World Series, both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are undefeated and have the day off waiting to see who they're going to play in the semis. And whoever they play in the semis will have to beat each of those teams twice. So I anticipate Oklahoma and Oklahoma State will be in the finals of the World Cup. I'm sorry, of the Women's World Series.
Which I assume you're kind of rooting for.
Yeah, although I just don't think they couldn't beat Oklahoma twice, unless if it's a one game. I don't know if it's a one game or best of three. If it's best of three, I can't see anybody beating Oklahoma twice. If it's just a one game winner take all, anything can happen.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I mean, they've had a good team. It's been a good game, and it's fun to watch. And the athleticism is really outstanding, and the crowd's been great. And it's kind of cool to see two schools from the same state battling it out.
40 minutes away, depending on how fast you drive.
Yeah. So. Kind of cool.
And much like soccer, women's softball moves.
Women's softball does move. Now, I also watched Oklahoma State baseball last night. They had a 7-2 lead, and they lost 20-12. And in the 8th inning, here is what happened. Arkansas got a hit, and then there was a walk, and then there was a hit batsman, so the bases are loaded. Then there was another walk, then there was another walk. Then there was a grand slam, and all of a sudden, it's out of control. And then he had a 3-run homer in the next inning, and it's 20-12. I've never seen 3 pitchers not be able to throw a strike in the same inning. and they weren't the walks weren't even close,
Yeah.
and the hit batsmen weren't even close. I mean, they were just crazy. So I've never seen a meltdown like that. So that was kind of depressing.
Understandably so. Yeah, that doesn't sound great.
No,
Not at all.
not at all. What else am I following? Oh, the mandatory training camps open up this week,
Yes, indeed.
and so we'll see what happens. And what story I'm bought into? I'm bought into the Raiders and Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Do I think that this could be the Derek Carr breakout year with Josh McDaniel as the coach and Devontae Adams as the receiver? Could be.
Could be.
I'm intrigued by the story. If he's available in my fantasy draft, I will take him as my quarterback.
Nobody likes to talk or hear other people talk about fantasy, so I try to limit that as much as possible. But I had Derek Carr for a good deal last year, and I didn't have a quarterback over 11 points 1 week during the entire season. Yeah. My quarterbacks averaged 7, and he was one of my quarterbacks. And that's in a random, regular scoring league where your average quarterback gets you 18 to 25. So, but I do think that, despite the Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Herbert, AFC West, the Raiders are a sneaky good team. They're good on defense. They're very solid all around. So, when we do our prediction show, they've already been one of my teams I'm toying with having win that division.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great division. It's a great fun division to watch. So I'm trying to think of my most worn out stories in the NFL.
Baker Mayfield.
Where will Jimmy G end up?
Yeah.
Where will Baker Mayfield end up? Is Gronk coming back? That's 1, 2, 3.
Well, let's
Any
just.
other ones you want to add to that list?
Well, I mean, obviously nobody likes to talk about Deshaun Watson.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Deshaun Watson story.
Yeah, because part of it is with Gronk. I have a feeling like if he comes back, it's going to be like week 8.
I get a feeling he's coming back right after, during training camp.
Okay.
He missed as much as he can.
Okay.
Brady will let him hang out the whole time. Brady will have him back.
Yeah, the Jimmy G thing. He's coming off a shoulder surgery and he's owed $25 million.
Yeah.
If I'm the 49ers, obviously you want to save money, but it's the NFL. You're making hand over fist. So if I'm bringing in, as much as I want to clear the path and make, all the stuff I gave to get Trey Lance, I think Jimmy G would chill behind Trey Lance all year if he had to. It just seems like he's that kind of guy. And I
think you could. I think you could without being disruptive.
Because the 49ers...
Baker Mayfield could be on the Browns without being disruptive.
No. I mean, the Browns, just a disaster of an organization. Right now, I mean, it's, as much talent as they have on the team, you got the Deshaun Watson distraction and the Baker Mayfield distraction. And I just don't know what you do. And you have Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Who I think you just wanted to be the nice, until Deshaun gets ready to go, we're having Tyrod Taylor play. But until they eat some money or, again,
it's absolutely crazy.
With the Baker thing, it's a sunk cost. Just get him out of the building, I don't know. But yeah, those are pretty much the stories. And then it's,
Those are my worn out stories. Now, my most intriguing story, Kumar Rocker, who was pitching for Vanderbilt last year and got drafted and not signed in the first round, is now playing for the Tri-City Valley Cats in the Independent League.
Okay.
And going back into the draft. Who will take a chance on Kumar Rocker? And it just, he was unbelievable in college, so why did it not work out? So that's my intriguing story that I'm going to follow.
Okay. I'm still stuck in the Homer-ish of Steeler stuff, so I'll just leave those for our Steeler Minute in a few weeks.
Okay.
It's, you can't help it.
No. We can't help it. It's just who we are.
Yeah. and then wondering, which team is, because every year we've got that team that comes out of nowhere to compete, like the Bengals last year, and the team everybody thought was good that's going to be bad, and just trying to figure out who those two teams are going to be.
Yeah.
But again, it's not season, but the NFL is dominating my headspace for sports.
Well, it's kind of season now because the
That's
mandatory
true.
training camps open up.
But it still is NBA
Mandatory
finals,
workouts. And
NHL
now
finals.
you're like 6 weeks away from the training camp.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have, like we've talked about numerous times on the show, nobody's learned to own the calendar year like the NFL.
No.
12 months a year, we talk about the NFL.
And I still think,
It's like if we were in Alabama, we talk about Alabama football 12 months a year.
it's true. And I realize, one more game, which we're probably going to get at some point over the next 5 years, isn't going to be the killer. But I do think having it as small as it is in a weird way is a big benefit. Obviously the game itself is exciting. It's chess with muscly men. But just being able to follow it in, with fantasy sports and gambling, like there's so many things that work with football that are really difficult with the other sports.
Yeah.
Like I did, again, not to go too hard on fantasy talk, but I got talked into fantasy NBA this year, and it's too much.
It's too much.
You got to adjust your lineup like every 3 or 4 days. You're constantly adjusting it, and then the people that end up winning the league are dropping and adding players every other day. Like it's a lot. Where football, it's once a week you can kind of check in and be like, okay, my lineup's set. Good, let's go.
Well, let's move over and talk about some controversy.
Okay.
So Kevin Na has left the PGA Tour. He's resigned from the PGA Tour to play in the Saudi-backed LIV League.
Yes.
And I'm assuming there's going to be some other people that are also going to resign their PGA Tour.
I'm assuming.
Credentials and go play. So I'm curious as to how it all works out. Because the next Open is controlled by a different organization other than the PGA Tour. So you could technically leave the PGA Tour, be a member of the LIV, and play in the event, the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
So I want to see how that plays out. And then I was, I guess, a little, not surprised. But the SEC had their meetings this week in Destin, Florida, and the football coaches were all together. And I expected to hear a little weeping and gnashing of teeth. And the commissioner kept a pretty good lid on it.
It did. They did a good job of circling the wagons on that story, I would say.
Yes, they did. And again, nobody's happy with NIL. And I think the coaches aren't happy because they don't have control now.
Yeah.
These collectives have formed, and they don't like they say they don't like the collectives. But the collectives are acting in their interests. So it's an interesting thing to see, but it's just such a mess. I just don't know what's going to happen, if it's going to affect how people view college football this year or what's going to go on. So we'll have to see.
It's something that, I feel like my entire life we've been talking about whether or not to pay college football players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I feel like they could have made some compromises on over the last 2 decades, and this wouldn't even be here. I don't think. Or maybe it would. Maybe it still would. Maybe it was inevitable. But I feel like there's things you could have done that, and again, I don't know exactly what those steps are. I think, because you got the angry people that are like, oh, scholarship's enough, and yada, yada, yada. But, if there was we
got to find some middle ground. Scholarship wasn't enough.
No.
And given the amount of money made, if something needed to be done, the wrong thing happened.
And again, I think if the money that was earmarked, if all that money that college football was making, the NCAA was making, was really going back to, helping the general student population as well, and not just into the pockets of a couple of people, I think that would have changed my attitude on it quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. It just, it's one of those things where the pendulum swung too far.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it swung back too far the other way, and we need some middle ground. So whether we get it or not, I don't know. I do want to shout out to Jocelyn Alo, though, of the women's team, the women's softball team in Oklahoma, for her third 30 home run season, and that's an NCAA record. She's the all-time home run leader, but she's also the first person to hit 30 home runs in 3 different seasons.
That's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
Well, should we move into some?
Entertainment?
I do. I have a couple. I'll start out with one that's probably not for everybody, and it's a movie that just came out called The Duel with Jillian. What is her name? She was the redhead from Marvel, and she was also on Doctor Who for a season. But if you know the company A24 that sort of makes, movies that aren't pleasing to everybody, I guess.
Okay.
It's got a very A24 feel. It's a very dark comedy that has a very bleak ending. But it's a wonderful, it's beautifully shot. All the art, all the stuff that you get with a lot of art house films is there. I think it's genuinely funny for a lot of people. Even there's some really mainstream jokes in it. But just to warn people, depending on your taste in movies, like there's no Thanos to be beaten at the end of this movie. But on the more positive for everybody, although it's, I guess, a little bit, I guess it pushes the envelope comedy-wise, is a show called The Bust Down, which the two most recognizable people would be Chris Redd from Saturday Night Live and Sammy J, who some people know. She's a comedian. I think she has a show on HBO. But the one thing I have to say about this show, it's only 6 episodes of the first season, but I looked on IMDb and it's got the nice 2022 dash. So hopefully we're getting more for my sake, because I really like it. But I was thinking about this because we were watching some Seinfeld, and you watch Simpsons and Parks and Rec and The Office. Like, it's pretty clear that as great as those shows are and as great as those shows became, they didn't have their characters down right out the gate. The writing wasn't as sharp as it could be. And I think this show, they all 4 of the main actors, they step in and they know who their characters are, and they're firing on all cylinders. So,
okay.
And again, it's 6 episodes, and like I said, I can probably assure that it's not for everybody, because like I said, they do push it a little bit hard with some of the jokes and the comedy, to make people a little whatever. But I really, really enjoy it. So, and then The Staircase on HBO is still keeping me very hooked.
Okay.
It's just a very intriguing case,
Well, we're going to try that one. We did finish the 7, 8, or 8, 9, 10 of Bosch Legacy, and I loved it. I could hardly wait till season 2 starts, which is how I felt about regular Bosch, and this was every bit as good. So
that's great.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
How about an interesting aside? I'm just watching a special on ESPN on Trinity Rodman, Dennis Rodman's daughter.
Okay.
A soccer player. She's unbelievable. She's really, really good. And she has a lot of, she's very, very athletic and dominating the Women's National League.
Nice.
National Soccer League. So, interesting.
Is he at the games, I'm assuming?
They did not show him at the game.
Okay.
But she's a really attractive young girl and very, very athletic. Very fast and, really, really good.
Because I was trying to picture what he would be like as a sideline dad.
He would be a sideshow.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, I wonder if he would not stay because he's a sideshow, or, it's weird, though, because I think if you watch Deion Sanders play, and now you see him as a coach, and that's not the guy you thought he would be, When you watch even, like, Snoop Dogg or people like that as sideline dads, but then you've obviously got the LeVar Balls on the other side of it, so Rodman being Rodman would be very interesting, where he's at in his world, I guess.
Oh, for sure.
But that's good to see. We need more upcoming soccer stars so we can dominate every sport in the world.
And I guess his son is a soccer player, too.
Huh. I wonder why they went soccer.
Don't know.
Although he could never shoot a basketball, so, maybe that was part of it. He always had good feet.
How about food? Any food?
Sadly, no food for me.
I'm trying to think since those shows Sunday. Well, Mom had COVID, so we were just eating in. So I just went back to Mom and D's and got some food. No, I have no food moment this week either. Sad to say.
I have a weird moment. I'm not sure if I would recommend this place, but we were out yesterday, and Maria had heard about this place. It opened up after Katrina, and it's called the Music Box.
Okay.
And you pull up, and it looks like it's got the walls of an old junkyard. And then you go inside, and it's a $5 donation just to walk around. And they have some events there as well. And they have a little bar, because it's New Orleans, and you pretty much have to have a bar everywhere.
And no question, it's like a requirement.
Right. And each station, and part of it's built into trees and tree houses, it's all like instruments, but it's all like, found instruments and junkyard instruments. I mean, there's a tree, and I think as a parent, you would be excited to jump your kids and let them run around, but also terrified because you're going to go with a headache in about 30 seconds because, you can bang on everything in the place.
Mm-hmm.
And they they get full of all sorts of things. So there's an elevator you go into, and all the buttons are deaf people talking. And the elevator vibrates with their voices to try to make you feel what they feel. So, and it's outdoors, so it was pretty warm out there. But it's a very unique spot, I would say. Not that I would recommend or tell people to come in for vacation, but just throwing it out there is, something unique I haven't been to before. So, yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. It's sort of a slower week.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to, like I said, looking forward to the Celtics game tonight. Looking forward to the rest of the Women's College World Series.
Well, we will be on game 5 by the next time we talk, right? Or 4?
Well, let's see. 2 is tonight. So 3 would be...
Wednesday?
Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday. Next one probably Friday, then Sunday, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very interesting game. And then on Tuesday, and I'll wait till the end of next episode to give this, but I do have my Dynasty Fantasy Draft is Tuesday night for fantasy football.
It's kind of early.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a Dynasty League, so you can keep all your players.
Right.
So it's pretty much just any time after the draft and free agency, so you know who you want to go get.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I would probably like that.
Yeah. I mean, so, I had Jamar Chase with my first round pick from a year ago. He's obviously going to stay on my team forever.
Yeah.
And then some other guys here and there. But, I guess our fantasy moment for a second, it's finding the Najee Harris, a running back as long as they stay healthy, is going to get the majority of the carries, is pretty much impossible. It's like him, Jonathan Taylor, a healthy Derrick Henry, and I don't even know if you got anybody else. Because McCaffrey can't stay healthy. Nick Chubb splits carries. Saquon Barkley never worked out. New England rushes like 50 different guys during the course of a season. Filling those running back slots is real hard.
Yeah, because they're not as valuable as they once were. And when you have a good one like we had Jonathan Taylor last year, he was a huge difference.
And that spurns me to no end because this will be my last moment before we stop complaining about fantasy. So if you want to hear no more fantasy complaining, you can go turn off right now. But 2 years ago, I tanked. That's when I had Rob Gronkowski on my team when he was still retired. And I was playing him every week because I wanted to tank. Got the first overall pick. All year long, it was tank for Taylor. But then Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going to the Chiefs, and I took him number 1 overall.
Oh.
Over Jonathan Taylor.
Oh.
And I've not traded him off my team or cut him, despite the fact that he's just... I feel like with some players you can see that spark. I don't see it with him. I think he's a serviceable rotation back. But yeah, I mean, as opposed to having back-to-back years of drafting Jonathan Taylor and Jamar Chase, I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jamar Chase. So, there you go.
There you go. All right, everybody, enjoy the sports this week. We'll get down to it. Like I said, Wales-Ukraine, interesting story today. And, again, game 2 tonight, which I think is really interesting. of the Celtics and the Warriors. So
Yeah.
those are my picks for the day. Enjoy your day.